Uh, uh. Good morning. Good morning.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Tuesday, May 3rd edition of the Morning Deuce with Davis Spindle, brought to you by hashtagtrending.com. How is everybody? Glad you got through your Monday, the beginning of the week, and now we're starting to get into the stride, get into the rhythm of things. First thing to talk about, I don't know if we have soccer fans out there. We're not going to talk about this long, but Leicester City, I believe that's even how it's pronounced, they won the European Premier Soccer League. They were 5,000 to 1 to win. Basically, putting that in perspective, the Cleveland Browns are a horrible football team with no chance at winning the Super Bowl. They're 200 to 1. Leicester was literally 25 times less likely to win than the Browns, and they won the entire thing. That's pretty incredible. But that made me think of another sports story that's happening in the world that's probably not getting the amount of attention it should, and that is the fact that the Olympics are happening this summer in a country that is completely and utterly unprepared for the Olympics because Brazil just hosted the World Cup. They are not prepared for the amount of people. They don't have the correct infrastructure built. And the biggest problem is they have a huge disease, Zika, that is becoming a huge problem. And we're sending people from all over the world to that country to spectate events that take place in and around bodies of water. And we're having people swim and sail and row and whatever else in and around those bodies of water. Thousands and thousands of people competing, millions of people watching in person in this mosquito-borne, or mosquito-transferred at least, virus. That's a little weird. I don't know anyone who's like, oh, I want to go to Brazil and see the Olympics. And people love to go to the Olympics. They love to see them in London. People were going to Beijing. The World Cup in Brazil was even getting a ton of spectators. But man, you have to be kind of a little crazy to want to go to Brazil to spectate some of these events if you don't know someone participating in them. Because Zika is a legitimate thing. I mean, that's terrifying. But athletes are concerned. The countries have started to come out with the outfits that they're going to wear, their uniforms. And first off, the United States' uniform is terrible. It looks like the kid that you make fun of during summer camp, like what he would wear with like the short, weird khaki shorts. And it's so bad. He looks like a kid that would get made fun of in Heavyweights, the movie with Ben Stiller, even if he wasn't a heavyweight. Like he's just it's so poorly dressed. Like his mom picked them out of a really bad J. Crew catalog from like 1994. That's what our team looks like. Horrible outfits. But South Korea actually came out with Zika-proof outfits that has repellent built into certain parts of the outfit to try to keep the mosquitoes away. Which, by the way, mosquito repellent is not good for you or the environment. So you're like building it into your clothes. It's definitely not good. But we got to take this bigger and broader. Zika is spread mostly in two ways. One, mosquitoes. Two, it's sexually transmitted. There is no more active sexual place on Earth than the Olympic Village during the Olympics. A bunch of people go for the entirety of the Olympics so they can be part of the closing ceremonies, and their event might be in the first or second day. They might be a runner who's doing sprints only, and they sprint their one race in qualifying, and that's it on the second day. And you know what they do for the next 2 weeks they're there? They do everybody. They literally do everybody they can. There's stories of millions of condoms being ordered for Olympic villages, and every year they still run out somehow. And we are sending the most we are building a sexual paradise of athletic bodies and just putting them in a cesspool of virus contagion. It's crazy. I mean, Ryan Lochte's back at the Olympics this year. I don't know if you remember, he had that TV show that was like, what would Ryan Lochte do? The answer is everyone in Olympic Village. Ryan Lochte would do everyone in Olympic Village. And that's going to mean that we're taking this gigantic sexual cesspool and bringing it back to all other parts of the world. I can't imagine a scenario where the Zika virus doesn't spike up a little bit after, I would say significantly after the Olympics. Is no one worried about that? Is no one worried that we're just going to have hard bodies spreading viruses like there's no tomorrow? Literally, just years of achievement and pent-up testosterone and aggression is just going to come out. I'm smacking my hands together gently. It's a habit, but I'm just trying to get the passion across of what I'm talking about, keeping a rhythm, keeping a beat, smashing out the Zika virus between each other, and then bringing it back to all parts of the world. So if you're in South Korea, I got to tell you something. You can have Zika-proof outfits. You can have a team well-trained in what to do about Zika. You can have everything. But when your star athlete gets into the Olympic Village, finishes his or her race, spreads out a little bit, and sees a hard, chiseled body like it's made out of marble from a Greek god, they're not thinking like, hey, what about Zika coming back to South Korea? They're thinking, I got to get me a slice of that Ryan Lochte. And you know what? Boom, Zika. We're all screwed. That's part one. Basically, part one is that the Olympic Village is a hump fest and we're all screwed. Part two is something we hit on last week, but very briefly. We talked all about driverless cars, the ups, the downs, the benefits, the possible things that could go wrong. Everyone's concerned, but no one is concerned as one expert in Canada who basically said this week that his biggest concern is that other than the issues that the computer program could be hacked, but his biggest concern is that when the computer has a problem and it needs to go into manual override and it tells a human being to take over the wheel, he's too worried that everyone in self-driving cars is going to be having sexual relations, that they're not going to be able to take over the wheel. That's his legitimate concern, that people are going to take advantage of their time when a couple gets in a car alone and they don't have to drive. He says there's going to be a lot of sex behind the wheel. And even though we call the cars driverless and self-driverless, there's going to be instances where the humans need to jump in. And while it would be easy to look up from your phone and grab the wheel, the same can't be said if you're participating in sexual intercourse during your chosen driverless free time. So think about that. His number one safety concern after everything we talked about is basically that people can't keep it together long enough in that car ride to have the responsibility for the manual override. So basically, I guess the theme of today's episode is no matter what, we're probably going to just destroy society because we can't stop doing it at the risk of everybody else. So it probably won't even matter because by the time we get the driverless car, we're all going to have Zika because Ryan Lochte, what would Ryan Lochte do? Spread Zika to everybody. And we're all going to get Zika, and we're all going to have mosquito-borne illnesses. It's going to be tragic as shit. We're going to have the self-driverless car. It's not going to matter if we crash because we're all going to be infected and probably... We might not even have the car. We might not even be able to get inside it because we could be all infected and just put all of our resources towards finding some type of antidote. This is like Ebola times 4 built into a sexual paradise. And yet we still, even if we come out okay and all is well, we're still going to be doing it when the driverless car is driving that we probably are going to crash anyway. So basically, I think abstinence, much like a CCD class, I think basically in the end, I'm just going to tell everyone to abstain from sexual relations forever. And that's the only way to be safe, kids. So that's your Tuesday. I hope everyone feels way less sexy than they did at the beginning of this podcast. Looking at you, Ryan Lochte. Goodbye. Have a great Tuesday.
thing, but lean a little